What don't you miss about being a teenager? Acne. Brought my confidence to an all-time low. I like having money. Consoles used to be such a pie-in-the-sky endeavor. Now it's something that you can easily take on after a month or two of waiting. If even that much. Random boners for no apparent reason 29 times a day. Dealing with your parents. Having to ask their permission to go places was not always fun, especially when your parents are nosy. The shallow pool of people which I was forced to pick my friends from. Edit. To clarify, there were fewer people overall with less varied personalities in my smaller high school bubble than there were when I went to college. And I guess there are plenty of teenagers in college, so WTFIDK lol BRBAFK. I definitely do not miss having to be dependent on someone else for money. Yeah. I'm not the wealthiest person in the world. I could cut my expenses to the bone to get even more about my money, but I really love the freedom to be able to say, today, I feel like getting a nice drink at the coffee place with my friend. Or, tonight, I don't want to cook. I'll grab dinner on the way home. It's not great all the time, but it's freedom to me. Or choosing to buy shoes before my old pair wear out sufficiently for my mother to think it was time to replace them. Owning more than one of an item at a time is my choice. Now, not a forbidden fantasy. All the silly high school politics. If you're not actually involved in it yourself, it can be really entertaining sometimes. Sometimes. Being even hornier than I am now. I have the opposite problem. I wish I could focus at my job. But I spend 90% of my time thinking about dicks all day. The lack of freedom. Typically caused by parents who behave like they are the McAfee antivirus of your life. Having to set up plans and be driven around by parents. In my state, the earliest you can get a license is 17. And most get it when they're 18 or even older. Unless you had an older friend or sibling, you were fucked. Edit. NJ. That's where I live. Being exceptionally unsure of myself. I'd go home and second guess every action, word, and clothing choice. I thought I was chubby and awkward. And looking back on old pictures and video, I think, man, you were so thin and pretty. You'll never look like that again. Why were you such an idiot? But now I'm so much surer of who I am and what I want. And it makes life a million times easier. Confidence really does come with time. And it's so nice to give so many less fucks about what people think. I don't miss how easily the hall monitors, principals, VPs and certain teachers could so easily intimidate and mistreat me and get away with it. This. You're trained not to talk back or stand up for yourself so they can walk all over you. FCK that whole thing. People ignoring me because I'm young. I was a smart kid. I had important shit to say. One of the most annoying stereotypes about teenagers. It doesn't matter how important or insightful an opinion is. If it comes out the mouth of a teenager, most people will disregard it. Voice cracking when going through puberty. Impossible to sound serious. Screw doing oral presentations. Being afraid of girls. Sometimes even on a NSFW girl sub the title will even be something like too hot I'm intimidated. Like, dude, you're afraid of a pretty picture of a girl? Most people will call out the title for our titler gore. But it shows a general demographic of the posters. Girls are just people. Just like your brothers. They just have tits. But you do too. There's nothing to be scared of. Constant fear of being arrested for drinking. I'm in my 30s and still love the feeling of knowing I can drink whatever I want at a restaurant. Currently a teenager. But I'm looking forward to not having to worry about doing homework while I am trying to relax. Vertical bar. Edit. Apparently I was looking forward to doing homework. Adding the word not. S. The people who bullied me. There is seriously nothing I miss from being a teenager. I hated it. I think I must have done high school wrong because I had plenty of friends and no obvious reason, like bullying or depression, To have hated high school but I loathed every minute and love being an adult. Having a phony self-confidence, as opposed to an older person's assured self-confidence. Crippling insecurity and being terrified of girls. When I was a teen I was lonely and sad and thought I wouldn't live long enough to bother planning my life. Now that I'm 45, I'm upset that I didn't die when I was a teen. My friends never inviting me to hang out outside of school. It isn't a problem now because I don't have any friends. The horrible awkwardness of everything. I didn't know how my body worked and I didn't trust my thoughts or convictions. Having to ask my mom if I wanted to buy something. Goddamn, that was annoying. Didn't realize how annoying it was until I had money of my own and nobody could tell me what I was or wasn't allowed to spend it on. I wasn't allowed to have a part-time job as a teenager and I never got an allowance, so if I ever wanted money for something or saw something in a store I wanted, always had to ask. Having money is great. Not the worst gripe in the world, and it's not like I was ever without the things I needed. Just love the freedom of being able to just get something and not have to consult anyone. Also great because my mom no longer has any part in my underwear purchases and I can buy all the lacy underwear to impress my boyfriend that I want and nobody can say anything about it. How if you weren't roving around with a posse 24 hours a day going to crazy parties and having lots of sex like in the movies, you felt worthless. Like you literally could not do anything by yourself without feeling like a loser. And God help you if you went out in public like that. You'd feel everyone's eyes on you. The thought of running into someone you knew and having to explain to them that you were by yourself was enough shame to keep you locked away. If a grown-up wants to see a movie, they just go see a movie. They don't have to wait for 10 other people to gather around them. Because it turns out nobody cares. That we all physically developed at different paces. I didn't grow as quickly as a lot of my peers. I looked a little younger too. There was an underlying competition for who could look like an adult first. Nobody taking you seriously because you're not old enough to have a valid opinion. Oh, and the god-awful mood swings because my hormones were everywhere. Having low self-esteem and constantly feeling embarrassed or paranoid. Also being stupid. Definitely don't miss that. My virginity. High school drama. Essentially hiding my entire life from my parents. And then when you're in a bad mood they ask why and you don't want to tell them because you feel it's none of their business. Literally everything. It's not that I had it that bad. But being in your 20s is just so much better. In basically every way. I guess I do miss running around with my friends. Doing stupid shit. But we did that before we were teenagers. So it wasn't a uniquely teenager thing. Like F-king everything? I had some good times the last couple years of my teens. But it was pretty terrible for most of it. I don't miss not really understanding who I am as a person. When I was a teenager, I spent so much time trying to be the funny kid. Trying to be Don Juan. Trying to be edgy. Morose kid. Now that I've spent a lot more time just living my life in my own skin, I have a much realistic and accurate conception of myself. I know what I am. And I know I am not. And it's nice to know and be comfortable with it. Worrying about having weekend plans. I never wanted to be in the position where I didn't have something to do on a Friday or Saturday night. Now I don't care either way in my 30s. Most of the time I prefer a quiet evening at home anyways. Mood swings. Being antsy for no reason. Much more calm now. Phew. All of the drama. Ugh. I wish there was at least one high school dance I could look back on where I didn't end up consoling a crying friend in the stairwell. But there is not. When I visit people who have teenagers, I am always amazed when the teens have their friends over. And they are nice people. And they hold conversations and speak in full sentences. And you can tell that they are really good friends and care about each other. When we were teens, we were just total dicks to each other. I couldn't wait to get older and make new friends. Going to school 6 hours a day. I don't know how we did it. I'm a senior in college now and I only go to school twice a week. That still feels like too much. However, I do work full time now so that on top of college work will always seem like more than just high school. I had more responsibility as a teen than I do as an adult. Asthma and competition. The words "this is important." All the control my parents had over my life. I didn't experience anything that teens usually did. The results weren't very nice. I definitely do not miss the condescension from adults that love to minimize my generation's problems. This considering the fact that these people, baby boomers, had it easier than any other generation before or since. And they did a really good job f'ing up the economy and the environment, which made their condescension even more infuriating. When I was your age, we had it so tao. Go FCK yourself with that shit. Having no freedom compared to being an adult. And not being taken seriously because of my age. Always being behind on sleep and having my parents hounding me for being lazy and needing to get out of the habit of sleeping so much because that won't fly in the adult world. Double quote. Then a ton of science comes out saying teen brains need more sleep. All of it. I wouldn't be a teenager again if you paid me. Being oblivious on the signals girls would give me to make a move already. Not a lot for me, but damn it, SX would have been nice in HS. The shitty person that I was. I was immature. Not ready for any sort of commitment. And never took much of anything seriously. Looking back, the greatest thing I left behind with my teen years and early 20s was myself. Always being told I'm wrong. I get that sometimes I was a little pretentious shit. But more often than not, I knew a lot more about what I was talking about than they did. I am glad people can no longer talk down to me and tell me I'm wrong by the simple fact that they are in a higher position than me. Being very confused and frustrated. I was a huge lesbo and wanted to get way too close with every female friend and didn't understand why. Curfews. Don't like being told what to do lol, but what I do miss is being invincible. I never thought of dying back then. I thought that was something that just happened to other people. Lol. How wrong I turned out to be. Oh. I also don't miss math homework. I f'ing hate math. And also, harder to watch porn. Putting $3 to $5 in my gas tank at a time. So I just turned 20. So I'm barely not a teenager anymore. But I'm thinking back to being like 13-15. And it was definitely puberty and raging. Uncontrolled. Violent hormones. The crying for no reason. The weird period cravings. And irrational anger towards. Then complete adoration for my family. It was a roller coaster with no brakes and part of the track missing. Thank God for getting older and birth control. Caring about what everyone thinks of me. Now I realize most people are mean and stupid. So I should only care about the opinions of my loved ones. High school. FCK that. Being treated differently because of my age. I can't even count the number of adults as I was growing up that refused to listen to anything I had to say because I was young. I never, ever felt like I had a voice when I was younger. It really ruined my quality of life in those years. Now as an adult, I still let myself get walked on intellectually. If someone tries to tell me something that I know I am much more educated on, I won't say anything and act like I didn't know. I hate it. The schedule. Class all day followed by extracurricular shit like marching band practice 3 days a week and loads of homework. Also competitions on weekends. Seriously. FCK high school. Looking back, I think a lot my depression may have been due to lack of sleep and not a lot of time to socialize. I'm 30. And I still think a lot of my teachers were f'ing idiots too. I was always told, it doesn't get much better in the workplace. Bullshit. I've never worked for anyone as stupid as some of my high school staff. Falling in love and getting your heart broken. It was crippling. Not being taken seriously. People are pretty dismissive of shitty teenagers say. I just turned 18 months ago. I miss the small sense of a community that was marching band.